Inspiration. UBM Praise.
And we are back. This is Warriors Talk on UBM Faith with Lady Rochelle and Rizal Gilmore, a.k.a. Biz. And we are talking about how to cope with grief. And I just want to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to Walter Jones of the Sir Walter Jones Show. He put up a special post today about Warriors Talk and what we were doing. So I just want to say thank you to him. And you guys can tune into his show, which is Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. here on UBM Faith. And he also had one of his supporters that listened to his show faithfully, Demetria Brand Triplet. And she made a comment. She said, "Forever fighting for a cure of all cancers. Breast cancer has been prominent within my family. I applaud the caregivers who take the responsibility of loving their loved ones through what they're dealing with. It's not easy, and you are remembered." So caregivers are special, and sometimes I think we forget that they exist because of the person that is ill. But, shouts out to all of the caregivers who take time to give up themselves to take care of the people that are sick.
Yes. It takes a very strong person to be a caregiver. And oftentimes I'm asked myself, how do I do it, being I've been a caregiver on more than one occasion?
Yes.
And I don't know how to do it. I just feel what God has put in my heart, and I just keep moving forward with it and just sharing the knowledge that I learned along my journey to try to make it easier for other people so they won't endure all of the pain and hurt that I've seen.
And that's what the GAL Foundation is about. It's about educating people and letting them know. You can let people know stuff ahead of time before they even have to go through it to kind of, I'm not going to say it's going to lessen the pain, but it's kind of like a tutorial because you've already been through it. So you can guide people on what to do when they're experiencing someone who is dealing with cancer or someone who has just lost someone from cancer.
Yeah, experience is the best teacher, and we have to stop being stuck in our mind in these, like we're locked in the cage. We don't want to be bothered, and we just go into this frenzy of just wanting to be alone, and thinking to ourselves that everything is going to be okay. We have to stop doing that. Canaries sing, but they're still in the cage. So you can be like a happy, sad type of person.
Wow. It talks about that grief can be different for people who are dealing with a long-time illness. When you were dealing with your wife as well as your father, and when they told you the life expectancy, how did you process that as far as continuing to take care of them and preparing for them after they were gonna pass away?
Well, with my dad, he was just stubborn. He was hard-headed. He found out about his cancer at about the age of 50. He didn't do anything really about it. He didn't take any chemotherapy until later in his years, and he lived to see a graceful age of 88.
Wow.
So that's like 38 years later of dealing with it, on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
I really didn't take, because, I was young then, and I really didn't think too much about it. Like, okay, he has cancer. Okay, I didn't even know what cancer was. Mm-hmm. I just knew it wasn't good. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until later on dealing with my wife how I became such an advocate. When the doctor told me and gave us the news, I looked at him like, you must be crazy. What are you talking about? Mm. Nah, that's not, not me, not us. No. Again, you just feel as though that you and that y'all are going to live forever, and you're going to grow you're going to grow old and gray together, and everything is going to be all right. You're going to watch the kids, and you're waiting for the glam babies to come,
Exactly.
and all of that stuff.
Yes.
And cancer comes in, and it throws its first punch, and now you got to roll up your sleeves and begin to fight. And you never thought that would happen again in a million years, that this disease would be taking the one person who you love unconditionally through thick and thin out of your equation.
Exactly. And it says grieving can go on for many years. So, again, there's no one size fit all. You don't necessarily have to put a time stamp on it. Like you said, sometimes you may have days where you're thinking about it all the time, and then as the days go by, it gets lesser and lesser. Doesn't mean that, you don't still love that person and you're not still memorializing them. But you have to be able to deal with your day-to-day functions. And in order for you to still be here for the rest of the people, you have to take care of self. I think a lot of times when you are a caregiver and when you are taking care of other people, you neglect yourself. You're the last person on your list that you take care of, because your whole world is centered around the person that you're taking care of. So once they do pass and you're able to start really thinking about yourself, and you start grieving, you start to look around, and you're like, you find yourself again, if you want to put it that way. But then you also find that a piece of you is missing. So now you have to try to figure out how to go on without this in your life, because it's been a big part of your life for a long time. So how did you resolve, as long as you was taking care of your wife, how did you try to bring some type of normalness in your life for you and your girls?
For the most part, I really don't think I did. Because we all were going through it. We all were coping. We all was trying to deal with the situation. My girls were young. My youngest, Madison, was 7 at the time, and my oldest was about 18. And we never really talked about the situation, about moving forward and getting through it. We dealt with it in all different ways of the situation. What I tried to do was get us all together and remind them that we're still a family. With or without Mommy, we're still going to make it, and we're going to make it together. And I think in the beginning it was a little rough. There was distance between all of us. But again, now as time has gone by, we've really brought it together, and there's more smiles than there is sadness going on between us. And I think we're all happy that Mommy has become an angel to all of us, and she still continues to walk with us even though we can't see her. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your wife, your father, and then your cousin, and then my sister. We were all given a time as to when they were going to pass. So I was thinking back to, they told us you have a week. So, how difficult was it for you to look at that person? Because I had to go in, we had to all go in, and we had to see my sister, knowing that they were giving her a week to live, and she knew as well. You have to try and sit there and try to get all your feelings out, how you feel about this person. And I even said to my sister when she was in her bed, when we had some alone time, I asked her, I said, have you accepted God as your personal Savior? And she says, yes. And she says, I don't think he heard me. I said, did you mean it, from your heart? She said, I did. I said, he heard you, and that was one piece I had to make sure before she transitioned, that she was right with God. And so I was just thinking, how hard was it for you to, sit there knowing what you know, without withdrawing from your wife? You know, because sometimes people will withdraw knowing what's going to happen. How difficult was it for you to do that?
It was very difficult. It almost felt like a guilt trip, knowing a piece of information about that person's life, and you don't want to tell them because you don't want to trip them out, because then that's going to put more on them.
Oh, wait. So you knew, but she didn't know.
Yeah, I knew, but she didn't know, and I never told her.
Oh, wow, okay.
And, you know, I've got that from the doctor, told me on different occasions.
Okay.
She has 2 years. I told the doctor no, and she surpassed that by far.
Oh, wow.
Doctor come again. She has 2 months. Oh, yeah? Oh, that's what you think, buddy. And she surpassed that by far.
Oh, wow.
But eventually it caught up. But, again, me and the doctor had the conversation, and the doctor can only give a projection of what he thinks. Remember, he's just giving you advice from medicine of what he know. But ultimately, it's up to the man upstairs who makes the final decision if you're coming home or if you're going to remain here. So it's very difficult knowing that. That's now you start doing things, you know, for this person, and you're just making them comfortable. Even with my cousin, the doctor said, I give him a week. He only made it 1 day.
Wow.
You know, so I'm glad that's when you, no matter what, whether it was 1 day or not, I still spent a substantial amount of time with him. That if he did go, I was good. You know, I didn't have to say, I loved you, you know, to the very end. He knew it. And usually people, when they're at funerals and they're crying and boo-hooing,
the one that's the loudest.
Not my grandma, not my mother, my aunt, it means throughout that whole journey, they wasn't doing what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Because they would have found peace and knowing that their loved one who was there was resting peacefully. But we do have to get better at loving one another and doing things, because we shouldn't wait until somebody's gone to allow them to smell the flowers.
Exactly. And you mentioned the word peace. And the one thing that I could say is I thank God for just allowing my whole family to be there and to allow us to, it wasn't like a shock to us. So, you know, she could have just passed away in her sleep and it could have just been a shock. But he allowed us that time so that, you know, we can bring about peace and made her last days, you know, memorable. So I thank God for that. He's an awesome God, and he has a way of doing things to not make things harder on you. So just the fact that we had that time with her and we were able to, you know, mentally prepare ourselves, I thank God for that. That was an awesome thing, because he knew that it would have been hard on my mom because she was the caregiver, you know, and it would have been hard. So he made it so that, you know, we all was going to be able to have a sense of peace about what was getting ready to happen. And then she accepted Christ as her Savior. So, you know, it's different when a saint is being celebrated when they pass away. We know that, you know, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So we knew where she was. And so it was a celebration. It was a homegoing celebration.
That's right. You have to have peace going on around you so you can have peace going on within you. That's the only way that you're going to make it, through. I told you, know, I've been practicing peace now for over a month, and I've become very good with it. But I found that, you know, I was a mechanic for a motor company for about 13 years. And I found that people's problem, what they used to bring their vehicles in, the area of what their problem wasn't the root cause of what was happening. And sometimes life throws the same thing, that you could have an area of your life with something going on, but it's caused by another part. And I think people who have now, you know, the caretakers and everybody, that they've been in such a mode, I'll say a mode, of being a caretaker for so long that their hurt and their pain begin to show up later on in their future because they're